Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Respected brothers and sisters, I remain Barrister Zuleyha Yusuf, pre and post divorce counselor, marriage coach, NLP practitioner, and relationship expert. Like the previous episode, we have been serializing all the coping methods in my book, Coping Mechanisms in a Difficult Marriage, all about how we can overcome whatever marital challenges we're experiencing in our marriages, according to the Islamic injunctions based on the Quran and the Sunnah. And in previous episodes, we had discussed from the beginning, renewing of your marital intention, letting go of past pain and hurt, taking responsibility. We have talked about using worship as a way to transform your marriage. We talked about your dua, your ibadah, Quran, and things like that. We also talked about boundaries, and now we're looking at mastering your emotion. For you to master your emotion, one of the key ingredients to having a successful marriage, or a way you can overcome whatever marital challenges you are facing now, is to be able to master your emotions. And before I go further, let me quickly add a caveat, as I always do. This caveat is just to ensure that the message we are passing here is not misunderstood by people that are in the kind of scenarios that we do not envisage here. We're not talking about abusive, violent marriages where there is harm, where there is threat to life, where there is any form of incapacitation because of some dangerous tendencies of one spouse or both spouses towards each other. What we're talking about is marriages, normal marriages, where you face challenges that seem overwhelming, where you have compatibility issues and other things that seem that you may have magnified out of proportion, or that seem as if, you know, there is no headway in the marriage, and you're thinking, how can I revamp my marriage and bring it to the state that I want it to be? And so one of the issues that will help greatly is to master your emotions. We know it for a fact that the tendency to hurt one another in a relationship is a reality. Why does it seem like the person that you are closest to is the one that you offend the most? There's this English saying where they say familiarity breeds contempt. In simple Nigerian parlance, I will simply put it as see finish. The fact that you live in the same house with this person day in, day out, you now know their strengths and weaknesses. You know practically everything about them, you know, from the absurd to, you know, things that are not in the public in the public domain. You know their deepest and personal issues. So it can have the tendency to make you look down on them, to reina them, as Hausas we say, or to just not accord them the kind of respect. And this goes for both parties. So because of that, we need to be very, very mindful of our emotions in marriage and how we express them, how we display them, and how we act on these emotions. It is normal human behavior. We only need to be more conscious about it and to be more intentional about the way that we express our emotions. And the two reasons for this are, number one, because we interact more frequently than those we love. And so if you're asking yourself, why is it that the person or the people that I love most are the ones that I always have issues, you find your answer in the fact that, number one, you interact with them more closely than other people. And then you have greater expectation from those that are closest to you. In the terms of interaction, I'll make an example with somebody that works, for instance. The kind of relationship you have with your work colleagues does not allow you to be able to have too many altercations, because you resume every day and then at the close of work, you go back to your house. You're not sleeping in that place. You're not habitating there for 365 days of a year. And so the tendency for you to always, you know, cross each other's paths and to annoy each other and to get on each other's nerves is reduced. I know, of course, that, you know, with every interaction, there will always be times of friction, but not as frequently as your spouse that you live together in the same house or with your children. So this is what we're saying, that the reason why it will seem as if you always have issues with those you love most is because, number one, you interact more frequently with them, and number two, that there are greater expectations. Many of us go into the marriage with the idea that, you know, now that I'm married, I will have the best companion that I ever had, the best friend that I ever had. my husband or my wife is going to be my confidant, is going to be my source of happiness, is going to be my this, is going to we have so many expectations. We feel like they're going to fill up a huge gap in our lives, which to some extent is true, but sometimes is over ambitious of us. So things hurt us more because we feel that this person is supposed to know that you don't like a particular thing. We have expectations, so it hurts us when those expectations are not met. You feel like, but he knows, he's closest to me, he knows that, or she knows that this thing, it really gets on my nerves. Why should they keep on doing it? But it is to be expected in this kind of relationship. So a relationship is like a minefield. There are just so many things to touch, which make things explode. There are things that you will tell a friend, you will tell a colleague at work, you will tell somebody else, and they will just laugh over it. They will not even take it serious. But with your spouse, it may be sensitive, it may take it in another way, and things like that. Even touching the right things in the wrong way can still bring problems. We could all be saying, I love you, I miss you so much, and the next minute again, somebody makes a remark, and then it will hurt us so much. So these are the things we are saying, that the dynamics of marital and close relationship is just such that sometimes you can never know when you step on, when you touch on the wrong topic. And so we need to be very mindful of that. Our emotions are part of us. We cannot discard or rubbish our emotions or sweep them under the carpet, but we need to know how to express them and how to act on them. So if we choose people that always shoot off at the wrong time, at every turn we make, then you are going to have a problem. And this is where the red flags before marriage come in. In mastering your emotions, you have to first protect yourself from the beginning by getting married to somebody that to some extent is mature enough to deal with all the ups and downs of marriage. It's going to be a very, very difficult tide if you are married to somebody that is on a very narrow string. A little thing upsets them. A very little thing upsets them. It's okay to be sensitive, but to be hyper and overly, temperamental will be an issue. So it's very unfortunate that only a few people can actually master their emotions, which is why we see so many marriages ending up in divorce. Many times it's all about emotions. Majority of people cannot control their emotions. So it is a thing of concern that we human beings most times allow our emotions to get the better of us. So things that we could do that will help us master our emotion is number one, don't react to things immediately. Don't react to things immediately. Yes, something may have hurt you, something may have happened, there might have been a quarrel or a very bitter altercation. Don't try as much as possible not to react immediately. There are some petty things that you will kill yourself over that holds no value actually when it comes to the happiness of your relationship. So you need to learn to let go of some things. It's not everything that requires a reaction. Sometimes silence may just be the best answer to a particular conflict. So learn to overlook things so that then you'll be proud of yourself in future. Then value the peace of your relationship more than all the petty arguments that you always have. This is another way to master your emotion. That you value, think about it, that is my relationship not more important than this little quarrel or that this little thing that I'm just boiling over. Your relationship is more important than that. So you will learn to leave some things alone. It's not enough to win to win the battle and then lose the war. You must not win every fight, every argument, and then lose your relationship at the end of the day. So what does it matter that in every argument I ever had in my marriage or in every quarrel we ever had, I came out the winner? I turned out to be the right one. I was proved right at the end of the day. But the marriage became over because of all these arguments and all these fights along the way. So it is not enough that you must win every argument. You need to overlook some things. Don't make an issue, and on the other hand, you should also not make an issue at everything. Something will give you an opportunity to discuss that issue that you let go. You may be thinking that, but if I keep quiet now, they will keep on doing this thing or this issue will keep on coming up. We're not saying sweep things under the carpet, but that for some situation, it is better to let things go, and then an opportunity will arise in the near future where that issue will be maturely and calmly trashed out, where tempers are not flaring, and people will be able to see the things in a more positive light. you will not be talking at that point from a place of bitterness and anger and resentment and, you know, annoyance. You'll be talking now from a place of calmness. And then you should not make an issue out of every situation, because what do you think the outcome will be? It's obvious that a person is, your spouse is offending you, but your reactions will add more to the drama. So what exactly is the point here? If your reaction is going to add more to the drama, why exactly are you pursuing it so much? If the issue is so big enough that you cannot overlook it, give it some time before you react. Allow yourself to be calm, separate your emotions from the situation before you weigh your next steps, and then investigate. Never act based on your thoughts or your assumptions. Like we always say, suspicions and assumptions will kill a marriage. So your emotions may be riding high, and there may be some things that give evidence to that. I said it. I said he was doing something that was wrong, and look at it, look at it. Somebody just called, or this thing just happened, or that thing just happened. And so it makes you become very, very emotional, that you react in ways that you should not react, and then later you start to regret it. So one of the high points of being an adult, because as they say, adulting is not easy. If you call yourself an adult, one of the things that you should do is to always try not to be petty, not to be irrational, and not to act rashly in a way that will later paint you to become an immature person. Sometimes in the counseling room, in the marriage counseling room, when couples sit down and are discussing issues, you will find some things that somebody has done when it's now being related many, many months or weeks or years later. Even the person himself or herself will start to feel ashamed that he had or she had reacted in that particular way, which is why it is better at the moment of heat, at that time of passion, it is better to calm down, to scrutinize, and to see whether or not the issue that we are fighting over is not too petty for us to lose our relationship over. So this is as far as I will go in the issue of mastering emotions. Like I said, it is very, very key to overcoming your marital challenges. If you used to act in a particular way, you will need to change and see whether or not other means of resolving the conflict will not be better. You cannot keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different reaction. If your normal way of behaving is that when you are shouted on, you shout back. When you are hit, you also hit back. Or whenever somebody insults you, that you try to land him with a bigger insult or tell her something that will hurt her as much as she has hurt you. And your particular reaction has not been given positive feedback, then you will need to reevaluate it and see whether or not it is not better to. And in fact, your calmness and your difference in reaction will even be something that will make your spouse check him or herself. If he's used to his wife crying over every petty thing, shouting and screaming, or just packing her things and leaving the house, and then something else happens that is even bigger than that, and then she reacts very calmly or decides even to laugh it off and all that, I think your spouse will be very, very concerned and very mindful, because he cannot predict your reactions again. So this is why it is important to master. When we master our emotions, we seem more mature than we actually are. We also look to be the more rational party in any situation in the marriage, and it also helps us to resolve issues better. It makes the other party ready to listen to you, because he knows that you don't allow your emotions get in the way, that you are very objective, you are very rational. Even when things are seemingly not going in your way, you are still ready. You are still ready to accept the truth and to prefer solutions, or to accept solutions that will be better for the family at the end of the day. And this particular issue of mastering emotions comes in handy when the issue of polygamy, rivalry, and having another person comes into the picture. This is where it is very important for all parties to master their emotions, because these are things that happen and everybody allows their emotion get in the way, and we get the kind of negative stories that we always get. So this is hoping that everybody picks one or two lessons from this to realize that we need to all master our emotions in marriage, and as much as possible, try not to act rashly in any given situation, to give things time, to see things in the bigger picture, and not to allow the particular circumstances that we are going through overcloud. Sometimes issues are magnified out of proportion more than what they really are. If you were to look at it 5 years, 10 years from now, when you are more mature, you will see that the issues were not as much as we thought they were. On these notes, I will say, I hope you benefited from this. So, fa subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.